So I'd like to start off my talk today by giving you like a little 7-minute meditation. It's 5 questions that I'd like you to answer from your own first-hand experience. So I'd like you to put your books away, your teachers away, everything you've ever heard, everything you've ever read, and it is the immediacy of your first-hand experience in this moment that I'd like you to contemplate these inquiries, which I'm sure you've heard now over and over during this conference. Normally, this would be about a 20-25-minute meditation that I would do with you, but I'm going to cut it very short and ask you the questions, give a moment to contemplate, and then I'll kind of give you some answers that I have gotten from people in the homeless shelters, in the VA settings where I come into. And literally, this is the first thing I like to do. So I'm going to give it, and then I'm going to tell you why. So feel free to keep your eyes open or closed, but take a moment. You've finished lunch. You're not yet ready to go on to the next thing of doing, and you're just sitting here in a delightful sense of being. So just take a moment. Open to this felt sense of being. For some of us, that even may be the felt sense of being awareness. And as you're moving into being, can you make the shift from being in being to being as being? And as being, I'd like to ask you 5 questions. Answer it from being. So as being, how would you describe your location? Your outermost border or boundary, your innermost center. Just feel into that for a few moments. How would I describe myself as being? One woman in a homeless shelter with no meditation experience, she said, I feel like I'm everywhere and nowhere specific, yet I feel myself as an undeniable presence. I feel myself as an undeniable presence that's everywhere and nowhere specific. Just see if that resonates with your own for a moment. And the second inquiry, as being, when you're just being, what's happening to thinking? When you're just feeling, being. And so we might ask, when you're just being, what time is it? What's your relationship to time? Another man in that same homeless shelter looked up to me and he said, who cares? So come back to being and ask yourself, as being, do I need anything that by acquiring it would make me as being any better than I already am? Do I as being lack or want for anything? The fourth inquiry, as being, are you unfamiliar, or is this something that you've known all your life? You may not spend much time every day nourishing it, but how familiar does it feel? And the fifth inquiry, as being, is there anything special I need to do to be? I'm cutting this very short because I don't have much time. Speed dating, you have to really press on the button. So look at what I just introduced us to. Something that is undeniably present as a presence, yet everywhere and nowhere specific. So I'm in my open spaciousness. I've stepped out of thought and time. I'm in the timeless. I'm somewhere in myself that's very familiar, that is beyond lack, wanting, or need. So I've stepped out of need. And there's nothing special I need to do about it. So a couple of months ago, I was at the Martinez VA, my first time there, with a group of inpatients with traumatic brain injury, post-traumatic stress, depression, insomnia, and anxiety disorders. And I gave this over a 20-minute period, and then I asked for reflections. And there was a fellow over on my right who raised his hand and spoke up, and he said, I feel like I just came home. And the hair on the back of my neck and my arms just stood up. And it's something I've heard repeatedly. When we introduce someone to being, and these special audiences, say, with trauma are especially true, they have a feeling of homecoming. When I did this in that first homeless shelter in Petaluma, where I was doing an actual research with the Noetic Sciences on the impact of this with the homeless, there was a homeless woman in that first class when I did this. She said, I feel like I just came back to my true home. Now that I know this, I think I can deal with my homelessness. And a vet in one of our studies, I think it was out of Miami or Walter Reed, when we introduced to them, he said, every other protocol that I've been given up until this moment has been trying to show me what's wrong with me, how to fix this that I feel is broken and irreparable. He said, you've just shown me what's not broken, what's never been traumatized, hurt, and that doesn't need healing. He said, now that I feel this, I feel like I'm ready to work with what does feel broken and what does feel healing.